Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Evolve. Alright, well. This one's been in the pipeline for a while, hasn't it? We've had various alphas, betas, and all manner of ridiculous things. We've had DLC controversy, pre-order controversy, PC monster race controversy, and finally the game arrives on our systems. The question is it any good? And more to the point, is all of this DLC stuff actually necessary? Is it really that realistic a criticism? Has it been overblown somewhat? Let's tackle that first, but before we do that, Evolve is a 4v1 multiplayer only, and by multiplayer only I mean it has bots, but you probably don't want to play with them. Cat and mouse kind of game. It's a little bit different to most titles. You will not find this level of asymmetry in most games, and indeed it's been something that I've been pursuing for quite some time as my enduring love for Giant Citizen Kabuto continues, a game that has clearly inspired this in many ways. So, you have one player that plays as the monster and attempts to evolve to level 3 and then either destroy the power relay or kill all of the hunters. That's the basic hunt mode of the game. There are other modes available, but that is the basic one that's been shown off a great deal. And then you have a team of 4 hunters that are attempting to hunt the monster down before it reaches level 3, trying to stop it from eating and growing, and try and kill it prior to that. And they need to do so by tracking it down using various different methods. So, let's tackle DLC first, and then we'll talk about the game and the options and everything else. Let's go to the store. So, I have got to admit, I was one of the people that, upon seeing all of the pre-order editions and all sorts of manners of ridiculous nonsense, that I was not exactly keen on this game to begin with. It begins with a hunting season pass, which includes 4 new hunters, 3 exclusive magma monster skins for 1 low price, and so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. So you've got that, and then you have a bunch of skins. But then, there's supposedly a monster pack which is coming. Now, what confused people a great deal is the fact that they released about 4 separate editions of this, including a digital deluxe and a PC monster race, and had a bunch of pre-order stuff as well. But here's actually what it breaks down to. After you dig through all of the nonsense and all of the puffery, what you find is really quite simple. There is no day 1 DLC that is not purely cosmetic. None. 0. It doesn't exist. And you might think, well, what about the hunting season pass? All of the stuff that is available on day 1 is available to anyone regardless of whether or not they've bought this. My understanding of the hunting season pass is that it will allow you access immediately to stuff that otherwise requires a little bit of time to unlock using the in-game progression system. That's it. All of this is cosmetic. All of it. Absolutely all of it. As a direct result, I feel that the reaction to all of this is completely and totally out of proportion. It's DLC, yes, I get it. It's day 1 DLC, I also get that. You know I don't like that. But it's cosmetic only, and as we are well aware by now, I would hope, after learning a little bit about how this process works, cosmetic DLC is often made in the time when the game is being polished up and finished off prior to its release, because the art team has nothing else to do with their time. I don't mind. I really don't. This is nothing. This is all completely cosmetic. Now, the big concern is the idea that apparently the next monster is going to cost $15. Okay, I can understand that concern. That's pretty much too much, as far as I'm concerned. And in fact, there's concerns with the price of the game as well, but we'll get onto that a little bit later. I agree, that's too much. Simultaneously, however, all of the maps are going to be free. So what they're doing is they're selling the monster as an additional way to spread the game out to actually expand it, because really, the game lives or dies based on its selection of hunters and its selection of monsters. The maps are of course relevant, as are game modes, and those are expected to be free. If they are free, then as far as I'm concerned, the policy is fine, but I think they need to sorely rethink the cost of the monsters. $15 for the 4th monster and the 5th monster, neither of which are out yet, by the way, so you don't get to pull day 1 DLC on that either, is, in my opinion, excessive. That's my opinion on the DLC. As I said, I think the issue is completely overblown. It was taken, frankly, far out of proportion. So, we're going to do solo play for this, and the reason we're going to do that is so we don't have to communicate with anybody. We're going to do a monster game, and we're going to do a hunter game to show you exactly what's going on with it. The solo play is not brilliant. The bots are not reliable. I had an issue with one of the monsters simply getting stuck in a wall and allowing me to kill it over the course of 3 minutes. I've also had the hunters frequently get confused by line of sight, which means that they will not do a particularly good job of hunting you down in certain places. So that's a bit of a problem. We're going to jump into quick play here. I'm going to start with the monster, and then I'm going to show you the hunter. Now, there are 3 monsters available. If you buy the default edition, you get 1 to start with, and then you can unlock the other 2 relatively quickly. The Wraith and the Kraken, I believe, are the other 2. The Goliath is the default. You've then also got 12 hunters. Again, same deal. You start with the 4 basic hunters, and then you unlock the others. Are the 4 basic hunters worse than the others? No, they're not. In fact, they're entirely functional. They've all got different abilities. They fulfill the same role, but they do so in different ways. So we have 3 monsters here, the Goliath, the Kraken, who can fly around, and the Wraith, who is kind of a stealth guy. This, right now, at any rate, is causing a lot of consternation within the player base, because this monster is very powerful, and the decoy ability, as far as I'm concerned, is colossally oh-pow. It's broken. It's really, really good. The Goliath is the default monster, probably the most fun to fight. I still like fighting the Kraken. I think he's got a unique flavor to him. The Wraith is just a frustrating mess to fight as far as I'm concerned, although he is a lot easier to fight with. We'll start with the Goliath. I'll probably die as a result because he's a little bit harder to escape with versus, say, the Wraith, but we'll play the Goliath. Okay, so you start off with 3 points, and you can spend them in whatever, and this will unlock one of 4 different abilities. So I can start with Rock Throw, we'll get Loot Smash, we'll get Charge as well. I want a bunch of mobility at the start. And you can also choose a perk, which can be leveled up as well. So we'll go for, let's see, we'll go for Traversal Stamina Increase. There we go. And that's the team I'm going to be going up against. That's the defaults. Those are the... You can call them tier 1s if you like, but frankly, they don't have a power difference to the other ones, so it's a little bit disingenuous to call them tier 1 hunters because they're just as good as the other guys. They happen to have different abilities and different ways of doing things. So, let's jump in. Now, as the monster, you're going to be wanting to eat as much as you possibly can in order to level up, gain armor, and once you reach level 3, you'll be able to destroy the power relay, which will allow you to win the hunt mode. Alternatively, you can just kill the hunters pretty much at any time, but most of the time you have no reason whatsoever to want to engage them before level 3 if you can possibly avoid it. Why? Because you are more powerful later on. And the hunters don't gain power throughout the game. They can gain a buff. It's possible to find special albino monsters, which will allow you to gain a buff. But outside of that, the hunters remain at exactly the same power level throughout the game, unless, of course, they die, in which case they will get a strike, which means that they will be easier to kill the next time. So you may potentially wish to harass them throughout the game. However, it's generally a pretty bad idea to do so. You will be weaker. It's that simple. And in fact, they're going to engage me right now. So this is one of the situations where things can go horribly, horribly wrong, potentially. I'm going to try and charge and get out of the area, but I was unable to do so. So I'm actually in a lot of trouble. Now, I'm fighting against a bunch of hunters at level 1 with my minimum power level. This could potentially be a loss immediately. And this is one of the strange things about Evolve. Evolve is a game that is very, very inconsistent in terms of the game length, and in terms of the kind of things that you can be expecting to do. And it really comes down to just how effective the monster is at hiding, and how effective the hunters are at finding him. So right now I'm just going to line of sight as best I can. As you'll notice, the bots are not particularly good at dealing with line of sight issues. They eventually figure things out from time to time. But what I really want to do here is try and get out of the area as quickly as possible. I'll try and do some damage, but I won't really be able to kill any of them. Once this mobile arena goes down, I'll be able to leave. There we go. No, it's not down yet. Okay, should be down in a minute. I'm just going to hop right back behind here if I can. There we go. That's a lot of damage I'm taking here. Okay, cool. The arena's down. Right, so we can just charge out of here. And I've done a bunch of damage to myself, which is not great. I say that was not a good start, but now I'm going to try and escape from the hunters as quickly as I possibly can. So I hung around the starting area a little bit too much, which resulted in the hunters actually getting a mobile arena on me. And that's the main role of the trapper, is to throw this mobile arena down, which will restrict the monster from moving. If you do not restrict the monster from moving, you basically can't catch it. Oh my god, this is rough. I'm running into all sorts of nasty creatures here. You basically can't catch it unless you get a buff or you manage to cut it off. The maps look very open, but they're actually surprisingly not. There are specific routes that you will find yourself going around in order to try and hunt the various beasts, which will allow you to eat, as you will see right here. I'm going to kill both of these and eat them up. It's going to let me gain some of my armor back and hopefully get me up to level 2 evolution. So once you learn the maps, it is entirely possible to figure out exactly where the monster is. And there are various ways of tracking it. Oh, looks like they found me. If I'm quick enough, I should be able to get out of the area before they can drop another nasty beastie on me. I can finish this off, I might be able to eat it. I might be pushing it a little bit too much here. Oh, it looks like they're fighting NPCs right now, so I can eat this and hopefully get the hell away and evolve somewhere else. That should do the trick. That would be nice. There we go. Alright. So now I'm going to try and evolve to level 2, which is going to require a little bit of work. It's going to make some noise. It's going to make me vulnerable for a little while. It's going to kill my armor, so I'm going to have to build that back up again. But I'm going to be able to spend more ability points. So if I want to upgrade my rock throw, for instance, which I certainly do, I'm going to go up to level 3 there. And I'm going to grab a point in fire breath as well, so I've got all of my abilities. And now I'm just a little bit more powerful. And I'll be able to fight them if I so desire. But really, I don't want to fight them. And therein lies the first kind of main big problem with the game. And it's specifically this particular game mode that has this problem. But this is the main game mode. So expecting the main game mode to be perhaps the best game mode would be logical, right? Well, it kind of isn't. That's the strange thing about it. The game has a pseudo-campaign called Evacuation, which is frankly a great deal better than this basic hunt mode that's going on right here, because you are put through a series of different trials, and they require... looks like we're going to get into a fight if I'm not careful. I'm going to try and charge across here and get out of the arena if at all possible, because I don't really want to fight right now, but I don't have a choice. Okay, looks like we're going to be fighting. That's not good news. I'm going to line of sight here and hide for the time being. Daisy's probably going to find me, but never mind. Hello. We're going to barbecue Maggie if we can. There we go. Yeah, Maggie's trapped in the corner, so we're going to be able to slam her down pretty easily. And that's good, because that breaks her arena, so we should be able to get out pretty much immediately. There we go. Lovely, lovely. So let's talk about this major problem, this kind of pacing issue. So, as I said before, the game is really inconsistent as to game length and as to how the game actually plays out. In a game like, say, Left 4 Dead, which is a good apt comparison because, hey, it was made by the same damn studio, what you have there is a series of objectives that play out at kind of the same pace, for the most part. And you will be encountering various nasty beasties at specific times during the level. And you'll be expecting that kind of thing, even in the versus mode. And you'll know when that sort of thing's coming your way, you'll be expecting it, you'll be ready for it. In Evolve, it can happen pretty much any time. And now, some people might view that as being very dynamic, and that's not an unreasonable thing to say. You can end up in a fight with the monster at any time. You can go around the corner, the monster's right there, throw an arena down, and you end up in a fight with it. That can happen, absolutely. But simultaneously, it could also not happen for 10 plus minutes. This is entirely feasible. A good monster, a sneaky monster, which I'm not, I'm a terrible monster, I play Trapper primarily in Assault. A good monster will be able to stay off the radar by avoiding things like these birds, by doing sneak attacks, by sneaking around, not breaking trees. And as a result, what you end up having is this weird situation where the trappers are running around for like 10 minutes trying to find you, and they don't have anything else to do. And it becomes a very boring case of cat and mouse. Now, when you actually manage to find the monster and when it becomes a big hit and run, that's when the game truly shines. And usually you need a very equally matched kind of team of monster and hunters that are both pretty damn good at what they do. And if they are good at what they do, then you might end up with a really exciting game on your hands. Something absolutely thrilling, potentially. When it's a big hit and run, you're trying to do as much damage to the monster as possible. You don't want to take damage to your own guys, because of course that can be a disaster. You don't want to get more strikes on your guys. That would be horrible. So you try and avoid that, and you try and pick away at the monster and take opportunities to put pressure on where you can. And there's a lot of interesting mechanics tied into that are maybe not as obvious. For instance, hello. Look, okay. Looks like we're in a fight. Probably not what I really wanted right now. I was actually looking to evolve, but we'll see what we can do. We have full armor, so I think we can take Hank out here by the looks of it. There we go. Hank, you can go down. Thank you very much. And I'm actually not taking too much damage from the rest of them either, so let's slam Hank into the ground. And a little bit of fire breath. Spin that around. Well, we'll see what we can do here. I've got a couple of weak points on me, so this might not actually work out too well, but we'll see. Put a rock into Markov there. Try and get the harpoon cable off me. Alright, I've taken a lot of damage, so I'm going to try and hide up here for a little while, see if anyone wants to come and say hi. And then maybe I can slam him off the side again, just like that. There we go. Get off. So right now you've got kind of a pretty well-paced game going on. But every game ends up being so completely different that it feels horribly inconsistent a lot of the time. And I really think that's down to a lack of things that the hunters can actually do. If the monster gets free, then the chances are that you're not going to catch him. It's that simple. The arena goes down to stop the monster from escaping. If you can't kill the monster while he's in the arena, then the monster's probably getting away, because if you take damage on the way out, you actually gain increased stamina regen, which actually is a little bit counterintuitive. You'd think, oh, you want to shoot the monster as much as possible. You actually don't. If the arena is down, you don't want to shoot the monster, because it increases stamina regen, which means he can move way faster than the hunters can, and I can get away, no problem at all. And then they've got to start tracking me again. So I'm trying to find a little bit of food here, trying to find a place to evolve that's safe. This is not safe at all, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to try and eat a few of these guys down here. And that is a very strange thing, honestly. Because there are some times when you simply cannot catch the monster. Like, it's just not going to happen. And it ends up being a horribly frustrating experience. And this is particularly the case if you run into a trapper that doesn't know what he's doing. That can be an absolute disaster for your team. The trapper's got to lay the arena down. And if he misses at any point, then you are in serious, serious trouble. If he misses that arena, then the monster's got free reign for like a minute. It's ridiculous. It's actually a very, very important thing indeed. And it puts a lot of emphasis on whether or not your trapper's any good. Now, of course, you have to work with the rest of the team as well. Don't get me wrong. If you have a bad medic, you're in serious trouble as well. But ultimately, it's the trapper that's really the linchpin of the team. And this makes the pubbing experience particularly unpleasant as far as I'm concerned. Now, when I've played with a team, the game is a lot more enjoyable. But I found this game even harder than Left 4 Dead to play with public groups. There is voice communication. You can use it. But simultaneously, if you've just got a stubborn person on your team, that can be it. I mean, that can be... you could be doomed. It's really that simple. You could be absolutely doomed at that point. Now, how do I think that they should really improve this? Well, the inconsistency, I think, comes a lot from the lack of actual tracking mechanics in the game. You can track the monster by looking for footprints on the ground, which are usually very large and easy to find. And you can also track the monster by looking for things like broken trees. You can look for things like carcasses, and the monster can also set off birds if he happens to be close by. So that's a situation where you might be able to find the monster there. But outside of that, there's really not actually an awful lot that you can really do as a hunter team. And what I'd love to see is more interactive things around the level that the hunters can actually do. They can hunt albinos to get buffs, but that's really about it. Otherwise, they're just chasing the monster forever and ever and ever. There's actually some pretty nasty situations where it's possible for a monster, say, to kill the medic early on and put the hunter team out of action for like 90 seconds. Because once a hunter dies, they have to drop pod back in. It takes about a minute and a half. If the medic dies quickly, you're in serious trouble because you really can't engage the monster at that point. Now, what I'd love to see is the ability, for instance, to, say, head over to the drop pod facility and accelerate the drop pod process. And that could create an optional temporary objective that the monster could engage at. And that would give you a much more dynamic experience throughout the hunt, but that doesn't happen. And as a result, the hunt ends up being only as dynamic as the players are. And more often than not, that means the hunt can actually be really quite boring. That's the biggest problem the game's got, that level of inconsistency. But what about actually playing the monster? Is it a bunch of fun? Well, it is when you get into the fight, absolutely. It can be really enjoyable, but simultaneously, running around the map and hiding from the enemy really isn't that much fun. There are opportunities, sometimes, sometimes, from time to time, where you can end up in a really cool position where you can pick someone off nice and easily, yeah? And that's absolutely fantastic when you can pull that off. They're inside. They're going to get absolutely wrecked, I think, here. This is not a good position for them to be in whatsoever. Okay, let's hank down. There we go. Let's get Daisy out of the way. Make sure she doesn't regenerate anyone. Medic is now dead. Good. That's what we like to see. Barbecue Maggie a little bit. If you can pick one of those guys off, that's great, but it doesn't happen that often, frankly. And when it does, you almost feel bad for doing it because you've disabled the enemy team in such a way that they can't end up doing anything anymore. So they can't engage you, so they end up just avoiding you for the most part. I would like to see more things that both the hunters and the monsters can do on the map that are PvE related that can kind of help their cause. Now, this does happen in the extraction mode, the kind of evacuation campaign. You gain different bonuses depending on how well you did on a map, and the game has a bunch of different little things that will happen. Say, for instance, there'll be a map where the weather is clearer, so it's easier to find the monster. There'll be a map when there's turrets available. There's a map when there's colonists that will help you out. There's a dropship that will scout for you. These are all really interesting things, but the base game mode, which is Hunt, doesn't have any of that, and as a result, it ends up feeling somewhat hollow. And it really comes down to how fun are the big arena fights that you get into with the monster. And the answer is, thankfully, pretty damn fun. When you're playing as a monster, you have to be very specific about who you target. You have to be very tactical. You've got to aim your abilities well. When you're playing as a member of the team, you have to play as a member of the team, because on your own, the monster will absolutely murder you. So there is a real feel of asymmetry that works very, very well. Now, what I'd also like to compliment is the variety of hunters available. I'm going to show you that now that we're going to go into a hunter game. There's a lot of variety available in the roles, and that kind of surprises me, because it seemed to me like you're going to be in real trouble diversifying these roles while simultaneously needing a very strict set of skills. So what they did was they kept one basic skill per class and then varied up everything else. So if we go to quick play and we pick up hunter here, then what we're going to see is a selection of different hunters, and there's 3 per role. So you've got your support, you've got your medic, you've got your trapper, and you've got your assault. And they pretty much do exactly what you would expect them to on the tin. But they do it in different ways. And they do it in ways that are really quite diverse and enjoyable. So if we jump in here, then let's look at trapper first. So your basic trapper is Maggie. She comes along with Daisy. Daisy hunts the monster. Daisy will go and find the monster for you, assuming that you don't tether it too close. So you follow Daisy around, and Daisy will eventually find the monster, but yeah, she's a bit slow. She's useful, though. It's a really, really good starter character. Makes things a bit easier. But what if you picked somebody else? Well, Griffin doesn't have Daisy. So what does Griffin do? Well, Griffin has sound spikes, which can be used to try and detect the monster that way. Or you can play Abe, who has a tracking dart pistol. So this is a character that relies very much on line of sight. If you can find the monster, you can put a tracking dart on it, or you can put tracking darts on corpses, which will allow it to track the monster if the monster ends up eating the tracking dart. And he also gets a custom shotgun and stasis grenades, but he gets this mobile arena, which all of the trappers get, and they need it. So you can see all 3 of these guys do things in very different ways, which really diversifies the team setup and also opens up a lot of unique synergies. Medics, for instance, there's even variety here. Val has a basic med gun, but she's also got an armor-piercing sniper rifle. She can put weak spots on the enemy, has the healing burst and the tranquilizer gun. Lazarus has the Lazarus device. He doesn't actually have a healing gun, but he's got this resurrection device. Basically, this is a guy designed around letting teammates die and then resurrecting them while cloaking in to do it. So he has a completely different way of doing things. And then you've got Kira, who has a healing grenade launcher along with a speed acceleration field, allowing you to really catch a monster very easily. So there's all sorts of variety here. I'm really impressed by all of this. This is really well designed, and this is where the diversity may come in the future. There's some diversity now, but the game will become a lot more interesting the more hunters and monster combinations there are available, because things then change up completely. There are different synergies to consider. There are different abilities which work well with others, not so well with others. You want to consider your team composition very carefully. That's the sort of thing that works really well with this game, and that's when the game is at its strongest. So we're going to pick, we've got Hyde here, who has a minigun and flamethrower. I do like my Parnell, though. He's got a combat shotgun, multi-fire rocket launcher. His ability is Super Soldier, which makes him rapid fire at the cost of health. He is an absolute beast. We're going to pick Parnell. It looks like we're going to be fighting against a Wraith. I really don't want to fight against a Wraith, but we'll go with capacity size there. All right, cool. We're going to deploy against him, and then I'll show you how the hunting actually works. So what am I thinking so far? Well, as I said, it's the inconsistency that's the problem. When this game is good, it's very, very good. When it's bad, it's pretty damn horrid. And most of the time, it ends up being bad as the result of the people you're playing with. So you really want to avoid public games as much as possible. More so than with Left 4 Dead, because while the objective in this game is find the monster, the way that you go about it is very fluid, and it's not necessarily obvious, you know, whereas in Left 4 Dead you've got to go from point A to point B. In this game you don't do that, so you end up in a weird situation where it's very possible for your team to completely screw you over, or maybe the other monster's just too damn good, we can't find him. We run around chasing him for 10 minutes and can't really get anywhere. All of that is entirely possible. Alright, let's rock and roll. And jump down here, and then we will go hunt the monster. Let's talk price point. I think this is very, very relevant. This is, I think, the sticking point for a lot of people, and I think they're totally right. Now, when it comes to price point, I generally don't consider it too much because I usually get my games either for free or they're a business expense. So, price point's not really relevant. But I've got to consider it, of course, for the benefit of you guys. This is a multiplayer-only game. Despite the fact that it has a solo mode, this is basically a multiplayer-only game. I'm only doing solo to do demonstration for you right now. You want to be playing this in multiplayer. There's no real doubt about that. I can't imagine why you would play it in any other mode. The solo mode doesn't have any of the communication and the team synergy. It's pretty fun for practicing the monster, but that's really about it. Alright. Let's see if we can find him. Okay, seems like he's over there somewhere. Oh, I don't want to be in here. I'm going to get eaten alive! Please help, thank you. That is one of the things you do have to watch out for. Jumping into a swamp with a giant beastie is usually not a particularly good idea. Hopefully we can actually kill this thing and actually get the buff off it. That would be really nice. There we go. And that gets us regenerate health over time. Yep, I'll take that, absolutely. Alright, let's go hunt him down. This is a multiplayer-only title that is very reliant on the quality of your team and the quality of the monster in order to be enjoyable. It has a campaign mode, but the story is threadbare at best. And, I mean, it's even more threadbare, frankly, than something like Titanfall is. And people had problems with the pricing of Titanfall. Lots of people have problems with the pricing of Evolve, and I don't really blame them, frankly. It's a multiplayer-only experience, and you're reliant, really, on two things. The variety and the combination of the hunter and the monster. And that is it. It's really, frankly, quite a simple thing. When you think about it. It is not a complex interaction. And as a direct result, I think you're going to find people are going to argue that this game isn't particularly content-rich, and I think they're right. Yes, okay, I get it. There are plenty of different maps to choose from, but a lot of them look very, very similar. And really, what you're concerned about is actually the difference between the monsters and the hunters. Now, the more of those that they add in, the better the game is going to get. There's no doubt about that. But simultaneously, as they add monsters in, they're going to be charging for them. And they're probably going to be charging for hunters as well. So the value becomes a difficult sell at that stage. A very, very difficult sell as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you have a group of friends and you're willing to dedicate and play together, then you're going to find fun in this game. You know, I'm not telling you that this game is not fun. It's actually, at its best, a very interesting experience. It's very unique. It's something you don't really find. But more often than not, it feels like a game mode for something else. It doesn't feel like a complete game in and of itself. It's something that perhaps would have been attached onto something else. And I think that they really would have needed to increase the complexity of the main game mode if they were going to try and convince people that this title was really... Hello. There we go. We got ourselves a monster. We can try and take him out now. If they were going to try and convince people that this game was kind of truly worth the money, then they would have probably had to severely enhance the main game mode or do something more with the campaign than what they did. And I think that is perhaps one of the biggest problems that the game currently has. It's going to be convincing people that this is actually worthy of their time. And it can be. It really can. As I said, at its best, it's so good, but at its worst, it's so bad. You know, it's so damn inconsistent all the damn time. That's a real shame. Now, it has no right to be as inconsistent as it is, but that's just the way the game mode works. It doesn't feel fully fleshed out. It's missing some elements. It's missing some core dynamics that would actually tie the whole game mode together. You know, really, should we actually be running around for 10 minutes trying to find this damn monster all the time? Is that what we should be doing? Is that all we should be doing? If that's all we should be doing, then I've got to ask, well, where's the meat? Where's the rest of it? Because if I look at something like Left 4 Dead, for instance, you get to play as big monsters in that as well, but you have a full objective mode and campaign, and everything just feels complete in a game like Left 4 Dead, whereas here it feels like it's a mode for a Left 4 Dead-esque alien game thingy. Hello. Looks like I found friends. I think this guy's going to go down, actually. Oh, was that a decoy? I think we got tricked. Yep, we have been bamboozled by the looks of it. That wasn't real at all. Alright, where's Daisy off to? Come on, Daisy. Here we go. Alright, let's talk about the technical side of things. So the game, for the most part, runs pretty well, unless you turn SLI on, in which case you will get a frame rate bonus, but you will get stutter. Pretty noticeable stutter. And as a result, I turned SLI off. Now, can I play the game at, say, a Super HD resolution on 1980 at an acceptable frame rate? Yes. I can get it to 60. Sure. It's fine. Simultaneously, though, there are some people who have been having problems, I believe, on AMD machines. For me, with an Intel and NVIDIA setup, I've had no problems with the game whatsoever. In fact, the game really runs quite well, actually. Surprisingly so, maybe more so than I expected. That was a frickin' decoy. Where is he? He's got to be around here somewhere. I'm gonna get this sneaky little bastard. Hello! That's not a decoy. There you go, you can have a few shotgun shells for your trouble. Arena is down. Where'd he go? Let's get up here. There we go. No, 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 no. No orbital strikes. Ah, you pest. So, it runs pretty well. I don't really have too many problems with the frame rate. Everything seems to be pretty solid, from what I can tell. And we'll have a look at the technical side of things in just a moment after I have eliminated the nasty, wee timorous beastie that is trying to eat our trapper right now. Where'd he go? Wrong time to activate that. Where are you? I know you're around here somewhere. Where are you? He's buggered off.
Good job out there.
Well, we did a bunch of damage to him, so I suppose that's fine. It was a decent enough fight. Alright, let's talk about options and things like that. I'm going to pause the game as we do that. So, the biggest thing that's missing from the options menu has got to be field of view slider. It is not here for no apparent reason whatsoever. And you may have noticed the gun models are just absurdly large. Yes, they are. I adjusted the FOV with the autoexec.config, and I'll put the information as to how to do that in the description below this video. But the fact that it's missing field of view and defaults to 80 is frankly unacceptable and stupid. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's not like these guys haven't made a PC game before, so I really don't know what they're thinking there. But hey, there you go. Outside of that, you have rebindable keys, you have your look inversion and mouse sensitivity. There appears to be a small amount of mouse acceleration, from what I can tell, so you might want to have a look into that. It may feel a little bit uncomfortable for you. Outside of that, separate audio sliders. Push to talk is on by default, which is always nice. You will need the voice chat in this game if you have any intention of playing it effectively. So just bear that in mind. And you can turn off things like automatic sprint, aim, toggle, head bobbing, and so on and so forth. Now, the video options are not fully available here because I'm currently in-game, so I will, once we've beaten the monster, I'll jump out of game and show you the rest of them. But there isn't too much that's really missing there, and it's not a bad looker either, you've got to admit. But look at the size of the bloody gun models. They're ridiculous. Absolutely excessive in every way. They get in the way. They take up far too much space on the screen. It's blatantly a console thing that needs to be sorted out. I mean, there's a lightning gun that takes up over a quarter of the screen. Markov's lightning gun takes up that much damn space. And there's no good reason. None. No good reason whatsoever for that, frankly. Thank you very much. I'm going to grab this buff, whatever that is. Movement speed, yeah. If I can, anyway. Did I grab it? I don't think I did, but... Alright, never mind. Alright, Daisy, where are you going off? Come on. Let's go find him. He'll be around here somewhere, no doubt. But otherwise, it performs fine. I don't have too many PC-specific problems. Matchmaking's been fine as well, although it does take a little bit of time. No server browser, so if you're hoping for that, you're not going to get one. And as far as I'm aware, also nothing like mod support or anything like that either, because let's be honest, they want to sell us DLC later on in the game. Hello! Alright, okay, let's put the shield up. Yes, that's nice. Do you know where the actual monster is? That would be lovely. Did we trap him? Oh, he's over there. Alright then. Let's find him. Where's he gone? He's attracted birds. That's probably not the real one. Bloody Wraith. The most annoying thing in the universe. Oh, hello. So... what is my conclusion on Evolve? Well, I've played about 12 hours of it. I played most of that with friends. and I had a reasonably good time in most of the games, but not all of them. If you have a bad monster, the game is a complete waste of time, because the chances are you catch him at level 1, you'll kill him, and that's it. Not much really to say about that. Not particularly impressive. If you have a good monster, it ends up being the other way round. You end up chasing him around for frickin' ever, and it ends up being a dull experience, because outside of dealing with the occasional nasty big monster, NPC that might end up eating one of your teammates, chasing the monster around is not a fulfilling experience. It doesn't have anywhere near enough depth or complexity to it as far as I'm concerned. This isn't fun. This is running simulator. This is Chase Daisy Simulator. I'm not particularly impressed by it. Hello, Mr. Monster, who is evolving and is about to get shot up completely. There we go. A bad time for you to evolve, Sonny Jim. Yes, indeed. Armor is down. All right. The hope is we should be able to take him out now. I certainly hope so, at any rate. Hank, quit dying. You useless beastie. All right, I should be able to sort him out here. If I can stop myself getting knocked around a little bit. There we go. He's back up. Good, good, good. Where's the monster? He's over there. It has its moments. That's maybe the best way to describe Evolve. Like, when Evolve is at its best, Evolve is a really cool, unique experience that you're not really going to find anywhere else. When Evolve is at its worst, it is a really, really dull chase the monster simulator that has very little going for it, and frankly, needed to be far more mechanically complex than it actually is. It's a game of inconsistencies. It's a game that is at times excellent and at times an infuriating waste of potential. That's how I would probably best describe Evolve if I had to, and I do because I'm making a video about it. That's how I would best describe it. And for $60, that's probably not going to be good enough for most people. For most. Not all, but most. But for a lot of people, maybe once it's gone down in price, it will be worthy of consideration, particularly once more monsters come out, once more hunters come out, once more variety is put into the game. If you're going to play it, if assuming you have the time, I would play it on Evacuation Mode. Evacuation Mode is a lot more fun than the basic Hunter Mode. It's got a lot more dynamic objectives, although not really enough to justify it. If you're hoping for a kind of Left 4 Dead experience where things constantly change, you got to do different things throughout the level, you can't. And the narrative experience is nowhere near as strong as something like Left 4 Dead. Absolutely not. Although, I have to say the voice acting for the characters and the diversity is absolutely fantastic. I enjoy listening to what they have to say. Their banter is pretty damn enjoyable. But as a narrative experience, is not even close. The kind of stories that you're going to be getting from this game are going to be coming from the really good games that you had with friends. Those will be your war stories. And those war stories are almost worth the game in and of itself. Almost. But at $60, it is a difficult sell as far as I'm concerned. This is a game where I feel that the community is going to bleed off. I think that we're going to end up in a situation where there ends up being a skill gap, which will result in new players struggling to find their feet, whereas everybody else just finds them frustrating to be around. And we might end up in the kind of Left 4 Dead situation where queuing up in pubbies becomes just unpalatable, and you're reliant very much on friends in order to make the game work. That could be a serious problem with the community going forward. It's possible. Before we wrap this up, let's have a quick look at the remains of the options menu here. You've got your graphical quality presets. You can go up to custom here, as you might imagine. Then if you look at advanced, you'll notice texture detail, shader models, shadow quality, particle quality, a selection of anti-aliasing, as well as your VSync available there, and modes that go all the way up to like Ultra HD and 4K and things like that if you so desire. And as I said, it runs pretty much fine. Also happens to have windowed full screen, which is always nice to have. So, nothing to really complain about too much there. So there you go, folks. That is Evolve. If you got the impression that I'm in two minds about it, that's because I am in two minds about it. The game has fantastic potential, and when it's at its best, it is a really cool, unique experience that is very tense and requires a great deal of teamwork, and the asymmetry is just wonderful. And when it's at its worst, oh god, it is a frustrating waste of time. Evolve, ladies and gentlemen. It's available for $60 on PC, also on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. My name has been TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.